Hello, hello. We are here for our monthly market update. Get you guys up to speed on what's been happening in our local real estate market, covering Muskogee and Harris County in Georgia and Russell and most of Lee County in Alabama. We're going to go through a few things here. Dustin with North Point is with us to talk mortgage and rates and some great information. So he's going to jump in here in a few minutes after I go through the market numbers and looking at how July closed out compared to the last 2 years in July. But before we get started, here at the Kim Mixon team on our monthly market update, we speak truth. We speak the real deal. So here's the truth. We're in a recession. I don't really care how you look at it, how you want to spin it, but I also want to tell you this truth. Recession does not equal housing crisis. Please listen to me. A recession does not equal a housing crisis. So don't marry those two things together in your mind. They are very much separate. We are not in a housing crisis, not even in the slightest. Market is shifting, things are changing, rates are bumping up. You know, we're starting to see some things on the market a little bit longer, but nothing crazy, guys. We're still getting good buyer activity. We are still in a seller's market. It may not be the wild and crazy Wild West market that we had this time last year, but we all knew that that was not gonna sustain, that wasn't gonna last forever. So now we have started to normalize in the market a little bit more. But let me repeat it again. A recession does not equal a housing crisis, and we are not in a housing crisis situation. So Dustin's going to talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. I am going to get us started on what the market did in July and how that compares to July over the last 2 years, just so you can kind of see where some things are going. So July 2022 in Muskogee and Harris County, there were approximately 279 closed sales. Average days on the market was 18. So still, things are still moving pretty quick from that standpoint. Average sales price, $261,000. List to sale price percentage was 99.47. In 2021, July 2021, we had 372 closed sales. So you can definitely see this past July, 279 versus last July, 372. We are down in closed sales. Like, I mean, no other spin I can put on it. That just is what it is. The average time on the market last year in July was about 24 days. And average sales price was $227,000. So stop right here and listen a minute. While we had fewer sales this past July than last July, our average time on the market for the homes that did sell was down, and our average sales price was up pretty significant from $227 last year to $261 this year. And list to sale price percent was slightly higher last year, which doesn't surprise me. It was at 100.02% versus 99.47 this year. And that has to do with some of that just crazy market frenzy that we were going through last summer with the insane amount of offers and bidding wars and all that kind of stuff. So 2020, looking back to 2020, we had in July 2020, 364 closed sales. Again, only 227 this past July. So yes, it's down. Like we all knew it was going to be. Not a big surprise, nothing to panic about. Average time on the market in July 2020 was 50 days. Average sales price was $214,000. And list to sale price percent was 97.72. Looking at active pending sales, current active pending in this same time last year, how many were active, how many were pending. So right now there are approximately 392 active listings in Muskogee and Harris County and about 430 pending sales. So we still have more under contract than on the market. We still have a bit of a supply and demand situation with that. Last year, this time, there were 379 active listings, so a little less. We've got a few more houses on the market right now, not significant, but a few more. And there were 546 pending sales. Again, versus current right now, we have about 430. So you can see there's a little bit of a market shift. We knew it was leading up to this over the last probably 60 to 90 days. It's been trending this way. So, to illustrate what our market shift is looking like, we have more homes on the market right now than we did this time last year, and we've got fewer pending sales. So again, nothing that's a panic situation, but you can see where the market has softened a little bit, and it's been trending that way for the last couple of months. Let's look at Russell and Lee County. What has happened over the last month in Russell and Lee County? So for July 2022, there were 171 closed sales. Average time on the market was 18 days. Average sales price, $245,000, and list to sale price percent, about 100.37. So things are still closing out pretty strong in July for Russell and Lee County. In 2021, there were 194 closed sales versus 171 this past July, so a few more last year than this year. Average time on the market was 24 days. We're 18 days right now, so slightly less there. Average sales price was $235. We're up to an average sales price of $245 this year, so slight increase with that. And list to sale price percent last year was 100.4% versus 100.37. So we're almost spot on with list to sale price percent as well. So Alabama's still holding very strong in the real estate market. Let's look at what closed out in July 2020, 190 closed sales. So still slightly more than where we stand for this past July, but average time on the market was 50 days. Average sales price was only $193,000, and we're at $245 now, so significant growth there. And list to sale price percent was 98.87, which is still a great percentage, but you can see there was probably a little more negotiation happening in 2020, July of 2020. Currently, there are 223 active listings and 225 pending sales. So, those numbers are pretty darn close. Last year, around right at this time, we had about 131 active listings. So we definitely have more homes on the market right now, but please understand, we are still dealing with a supply and demand issue. So even though we have more homes on the market than we did this time last year, we're not talking about we went from 131 last year to now we're at 1,000 homes on the market. It's up to 223. So it's a pretty good bump above, but still not in a surplus situation. Pending sales last year, this time of year, we had about 312, and right now we've got 225. So you can see sales are down some, not as much as under contract. So that just really gives you a snapshot as to what's happening in the market, and should also illustrate we are not in a housing crisis, which means recession does not equal housing crisis. We are still very much in a good market, albeit it has softened since last year, even softened since just 6 months ago, but it's still a great market. So on that note, I'm gonna bring in Dustin and let him talk to us some about rates and what's happening from the mortgage side. So Dustin,
hey guys. All right, so I think the last time we spoke about recession. We spoke about the fact that we thought rates would kind of slowly decline. And I think it will be volatile. It has been volatile, and volatile doesn't always mean, volatile is a temporary term. It's not a long-term event. Sometimes volatile just means that rates were bad for a day. Sometimes it means they were bad for an afternoon, or they rose for an afternoon and came back down. We have seen...
If rates are bad in that snapshot of time when you're trying to lock your rate, it seems much more monumental than it actually is in the full scheme of market.
Right. Earlier this week, we did have a recent Fed rate hike of about 75 basis points. So There wasn't a lot of action on that. I think it was a planned event. That was already priced in for most people, so there was not a it wasn't taken very negatively anyway. There was not a lot of uncertainty, so
No one
rates
went
were
in
pretty.
panic mode.
They were pretty stable during that. But we did have some rumblings earlier this week that there was going to be an additional rate hike next month. Maybe not quite as big, but that was something unexpected. So we did see some volatility in the market, and so rates temporarily kind of spiked. And over the last 48 hours, which has happened just about every time, they come back down. So I think we have kind of hit a plateau, barring some unforeseen event. I think we are at the top. Today is the very first day in quite a while where I have been able to quote someone in the high fours, whether you're looking at conventional, VA, FHA, so that's a positive. So that makes me happy.
So you need to call, lock in a rate today.
Yeah, today.
Get under contract, lock in your rate today. Let's just do it.
But yeah, I think we will see them steadily decline. And I don't think they're going to bottom out. I don't think you're going to see, unless there's some crazy event that happens, I don't think you're going to be, someone that instantly sees an entire point fall off your interest rate, going from, the fives to the, low fours overnight. And Kim and I were speaking a few minutes ago about, I've gotten a lot of calls recently, people asking, should they buy? Is this a good time to buy? Because rates, houses are worth more than they've been worth in quite a while.
And you can see that if you go back and listen to past market updates and look at what we just talked about. Russell Lee County, average price $235 last year, average price $245 this year. Muskogee and Harris County, average price $227 last year, $261 this year. So I think there's a lot of people on the fence. Should I buy? They're worth more. People feel like it is an overinflated market. They feel like rates are higher. They are higher than they've been, and at least they were. Earlier this week, it's probably higher than they've been in 4 decades. It's still a good time to buy. When you look at the numbers, we last year we saw probably an unprecedented rise in home values. Sure.
But your normal values that you see are typically 4 to 5%. So when you look at the numbers on that, and I'll try not to get too confusing because I know I'm about to say a bunch of numbers. So if you are someone that's looking, and we're going to use flat numbers here, these are not exact rates, these are not exact price point, not exact rates, just easy math. So
give us the easy math. I got my thinking cap on, but I still need the easy math.
Yeah, me too. So if I didn't have my calculator, I would be lost. So if you were to buy, say you're buying a $450,000 house today, and let's just say the rate was 5.5%. Your principal and interest payment on that would be about $2,550 a month. That doesn't include tax and insurance. That's just the principal and interest. And you're somebody that says, 5.5 is just too high. I'm going to wait it out. I'm going to wait till next year, and we're gonna get it at 4.5%. And that's fine. You can do that, and I completely understand somebody that would maybe feel that way. Now, granted, we did have a big increase in home values over the last year, but if we had a normal year, which we've had a normal year for quite a while now, probably the last decade, home values have increased almost every single year, and they have. We've never had them go backwards for the last 10 years. Generally, a normal year is 4 to 5%. So let's just say it increased by 5%. Let's be, cautious and say it's only 5. Your new sales price next year would be $472,500. So that's $22,500 in equity that you did not, basically you lost out on because you waited for the rate to drop to 4.5. Now let's say you did wait and you bought it at, $472,500 at 4.5%. You're only going to save about $150 a month. Now, granted, $150 a month is, if you have, your budget is important. So if that's outside your budget, I completely understand, but when you think about the money that you're saving in your payment versus the equity that you lost, it would take you almost 12 years of monthly payments before you would gain back that $22,500 in equity that you missed by waiting on a rate that's probably unlikely to get to, at least a whole point off the interest rate in the next 12 months. So
think about that. It often, Dustin's spot on when it's the same thing we hear on our side about, I'm going to wait to buy. Well, I'm telling you, if your strategy has been, I'm going to wait to buy,
right,
you have done nothing but throw money to the wind for the last probably 4 or 5 years as values continue to go up every year. If you're waiting for the crash, I don't think that's a really good plan because we don't really have any indication that there's going to be a crash. And what happened in 07 and 08, that was a completely different market situation. That was a mortgage market crisis, and that is not where we are right now. The change in market, what's going on with inflation, all of that has absolutely nothing to do with subprime lending and the mortgage industry. The mortgage industry right now is so strong and very regulated. They are not making bad deals, so to speak.
We probably turned down more people than we approved.
And that was not the case in early 2000s. If you had a pulse, you didn't even have to have a pulse and you could get a mortgage.
Not a strong one.
So if your strategy is I'm going to wait to buy because everything's going to plummet and I'm going to get such a great deal next year, I have plenty of clients that were using that strategy in 2000, not in 2000, in 2020. And let me remind you, in Muskogee and Harris County in 2020, average sales price in July was $214,000. Average sales price this July was $261,000. So how does that waiting strategy make sense? So when you're looking at, maybe you wait and your rate is a little better, and I can see if you're waiting to lock in on something, giving it a couple weeks or something, trying to watching rates. But if your idea is I'm going to wait and buy next year, then what you might possibly gamble and gain on rate, you are most certainly going to lose an equity.
I think there's much more data to support a 5% increase in home values than there is an entire point fall off in interest rate, especially with the way the market is right now and just how much volatility, how much uncertainty. There's just a lot. If you're going to gamble, that's the way I would gamble. So if it's a house that you really love, a refinance is a lot cheaper than $22,500. So I can tell you that for sure. So do not miss the house you want. The numbers just don't make any sense.
That's $22,500. $22,000. That's a lot of money.
And that is a very conservative number. That is a normal 5% increase. Is a very normal conservative number. So
anyhow, lesson for today. Let's all say it together. Recession does not equal housing crisis. We are not in a housing crisis. We've seen some crazy things happening with rates over the last few months that have kind of changed circumstances a little bit and certainly maybe has changed some budgets, all understandable. But it's nothing that should be stopping you. If you're looking to buy and sell, it is still a wonderful market to do that. It is still very strong for sellers. And even with the rate increase, because things have softened a little bit, it's a great market for buyers too, because if you're looking ahead at what your equity potential is, down the road on something you purchase now, you might have a slightly higher rate, but like Dustin said, the equity growth that you get over the long term is far better. And it's going to be more money than what it might cost you if you say, hey, rates really go down a year from now and I'm going to refinance, So just think about all of that stuff. Part of what we try to do every month is bring you the real information on what is actually happening in our market, our local market. You see a lot of stuff on national news, but national news doesn't always equate to what's happening in Columbus, Phoenix City, surrounding area. So we try to keep you at a good pulse point on what's happening with that, give you the real live information, and talk to you about like what the process is, how you might reframe some of the narrative, because so much of what you see in big media can be so like overinflated, hysterical, like fear-mongering. And that's not really the truth of it. So we're going to talk to you more about the truth. And if there's something to be worried about, we're going to tell you, hey, you need to keep this in mind. This is a concern. Right now, we don't have big concerns.
No, I really feel like it's a healthy market. I really do. I think it's getting back to normal. I think it's going back to normal. It's not going down. It's going back to normal.
It's like I said earlier, we've
missed a lot of normalcy, and it just wasn't there for the last 2 years.
Last year especially was crazy madness. But again, we knew there was no way that level could sustain. So it was fully expected,
Right.
to see things shift a little bit and kind of soften and normalize, which is where we are.
And I know I said some numbers and it may not. If it didn't click, you can always call me. If you want to see that on paper, I do not mind putting that on paper and we can talk about it for 20 minutes. I mean, however you want to talk about it, look at it. I would be more than happy to explain that to anybody that wants to see what those numbers
And he
look
can
like.
use real numbers. So, you did it based off of a sales price of, what was it?
$450.
$450.
Yeah.
If your budget's $250, he can run those same real life numbers at $250 or at $650 or wherever your budget might be.
Yeah, and based off today's rates, because the rate today is not 5.5. But a percentage point is a percentage point. So I ran those a couple of days ago, but it was easy math. But the same thing still applies. I think the equity is always going to outweigh the benefit and rate unless you have, unless they just fall to 2%. I mean, it's gonna, and even I had to do the math on that, but even in that scenario, I still don't know if it would make any sense because that's a lot of equity that you would miss out on. So
for sure. All right. Well, that's it. This one is not as long-winded as some of my videos are. We got to the point, had some really good information. As always, Dustin, tell everybody how they can reach you, how they can find you, so you can reach out to Dustin with all of your mortgage questions and inquiries.
Yeah, you can always reach me on Facebook. So if you want to message me, however, add me, friend me, you can do that. My cell phone number is 706-405-6555. So that'll be the fastest, easiest way to get me. So text, phone call, whatever is easiest for you. If you want to email me, I'll put my email down in the comments. And look forward to seeing y'all next month.
Absolutely. We'll keep this up to keep you guys informed. And of course, you guys know how to reach me through all of the social media platforms. And my cell phone is 706-332-6349. My office is downtown 103 12th Street in beautiful Columbus, Georgia. We're not always in the office. We don't keep office hours. Appointments happen at all kinds of crazy times in real estate. But if you're going to come by or want to come by, just shoot me a text, give me a call. I'll make sure I'm here. And we look forward to regrouping. In a month, it'll be September. I cannot believe we're going to be at September in a month. So we'll be looking, a month from now, we'll be looking back on what happened in August and talking about rates and all of that good stuff again. But in the meantime, let us know anything we can help you with, looking to buy or sell. That is what we do. And we are the best at what we do. So just give me a call.
That is correct.
All right. See you guys. Have a great day.